I always tell my kids, like, you don't have to be like the hardest worker in the room. Like, you have to just be the most consistent one. And the consistency is just always going to pay off in the end, because, you know, a contact you may have created like a few months ago remember you gave them their card, and then all of a sudden they come across someone that might need someone, and they're like, oh, hey, look, I actually do know somebody. So it's the small gestures, it's the consistent efforts that really get you to where you want to be in life.
I think that's really well said, man. You don't have to be the hardest worker. You just have to be the most consistent person in the room.
Right.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship.
I just told our producer, Jay,
Right.
that we were going to interview you, also Jay. And I was like, I've never held $1 million, but I felt like $1 million. And it was the first time I ever walked out of your shop, man, and you cut my hair and you didn't have a mirror. And you're like, oh, we don't need a mirror.
Yeah. Right.
And I walk out and I call my wife. You know, it's like your first time finding a new barber. You never know what to expect. Right. And she's like, so how was it? It was like 12 p.m. on a Tuesday. And I was like, babe, I'm just going to go walk around downtown. She's like, what? I'm like, I feel so damn good right now.
Right.
So like, long story short, man, it's funny. We're going to get into what you do and who you are, but man, you're the only person that's ever made me feel like $1 million, man.
That's good. My goal is, once you leave the shop, I'm hoping your wife falls back in love with you again later that day. So,
well, shit, man. I
did something right. You came back.
That's right, man. I fell in love with myself. Let's start here, man. I had the chance to interview, I believe, the best barber in Colorado. But you're one heck of an entrepreneur. You have one heck of a story. We're going to get into a little bit of everything that you've done, but give me your wildest barbershop story, man. Let's just kick it off there. Cause I mean, dude, there's like some people listening right now, they know the barbershop,
right? Or
they know great clips,
right?
And there's a vast difference, and you've probably seen a little bit of it all.
Yeah. Well, the first shop I've ever started cutting at was on like Colfax and Moline. So if you know Colorado, you know that's quite a spicy area over there, you know? So I've seen a lot of stuff over there, just a lot of fights, a lot of, I'll tell you right there, we're cutting hair, typical Tuesday, and all of a sudden we hear a loud bang. And we all go run outside, and some dude's mad at the owner of the convenience store next door, and he's ramming his truck back and forth trying to get through the convenience store. And that was the moment I was like, yeah, I need to move over to a nicer area. You know what I mean? So, leveled up since.
That's right, man. You talk about leveling up. Do you ever feel like, I know a little bit about your life story. Do you ever feel like you're just playing with house money?
Yeah, definitely. After high school, I found out I was having a kid basically the day before my senior prom. So instead of pursuing my dreams as a barber, I had to go get a job. So I got my CDL and started driving semis. And I remember every single day I would just envision my life like, man, what would my life be like if I was a barber? If I was, you know what I mean? Didn't have to come clock in every day. If I didn't have a boss, I didn't have to beg for a day off. I would literally daydream about that. So I definitely think about that a lot, and I appreciate where I'm at in life because, when I look back to those times, I'm like, damn, this is what I was dreaming for, So
yeah, totally. Why did you choose the initial trade of being a barber?
It goes back to my grandma. Freshman year, she couldn't really afford my haircuts anymore. Come Christmas time, she bought me a pair of clippers, and she's like, I can't afford your haircuts. Learn how to cut your own hair. So in a sense, I was kind of forced into the trade. Yeah,
totally. Talk to me about your grandma, man. I know she's a huge part of your story, huge part definitely. Of your life. From my understanding, she basically raised you. Is that correct?
Yeah, she took me in. I think I was about 6 months, and I lived with her all up until the point, where I left, graduated high school and all that. So she was basically my mother. So.
What was that like growing up with a grandmother as your mother versus your actual mother?
It was different. You know what I mean? she moved us down to Littleton when I was, I want to say, 5th grade. And it was just a different environment there coming from Denver. Like, you know, these kids had both parents, like happy families. So being that young, it was like embarrassing to a point. And it was something I had to grow into, where it was just like, hey, regardless, like I had somebody to take care of me regardless. So
Yeah.
it was something that I had to like grow to accept. But now that I'm older, like I wouldn't have had it any other way, you know?
Yeah. How many siblings do you have?
I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And so were they pretty much all raised by your grandma as well? Or was it a
No,
little bit
so
of a mix?
yeah, my mom, she lived kind of a wild life. So
Yeah.
they were all scattered around like the Dragon Ball Z balls is how I like to put it. My siblings were kind of all scattered around, but
Yeah.
you know, we would get together and have a reunion, and you know, it's like no time had passed, you know.
All right, I know you guys are wondering, how can we keep our cleaning crews engaged and informed, and it doesn't have to feel like a struggle? With Team Engine, you can now automate messages, update teams in real time, and bridge language gaps with their built-in AI-powered translations. Whether it's scheduling, last-minute changes, or sharing critical updates, Team Engine keeps your workforce connected and productive. Say goodbye to miscommunication and hello to smoother operations. Visit teamengine.io to get started today.
And I ask all this because, like, I feel like in many ways, man, you're a prime example of like coming from someone that could be like, oh, I came from the trenches and I've like made it here. Does that make sense?
Right.
And I think there's a tenacious aspect of you, and not everyone has a kid at 17, 18 years old, right? And says, hey, I have a vision for my life. I'm going to master this trade and create my own business. Talk to me about being like, literally, you're a teenager,
Right.
having a kid. You're working this trucking job, but you have this vision to be a barber. Like, talk to me about just the entrepreneur journey and like venturing out on your
Right.
own and navigating being a young father with
Definitely.
just the whole 9.
Definitely. I don't like to say I had a hard life, because, you know, I'm very big on like perspective. So I like to say I had more of like a unconventional childhood growing up, because I wouldn't change it at all for anything. You know what I mean? So coming up out of that, my aspirations were not very big at all. Like my goals coming out of high school, just finding out I had a kid, was I want to get a job and take care of my kid, because that wasn't like something that was common for me to see. You know what I mean? So it was like very small, but just one thing at a time. You accomplish this goal, and then, you know, set another goal for the next year, accomplish that. And I kind of eventually became addicted to leveling up and experiencing what these like new levels were like. You know what I mean?
Totally. I think it's such a young perspective to have that type of mindset, though, because when I was 17, I was a freaking mess, man. I had no idea what I wanted to be, let alone have the responsibility of fatherhood, let alone have, like you said it best when you're driving trucks, have a vision. Where do you think like that came from?
I could have taken a pretty rough route, you know, but I always like to say my worst examples growing up were my best examples. I never looked down on anybody. Like, I absolutely love everybody that was a part of my childhood growing up, but they showed me exactly what I don't want to be. You know what I mean? So that was very easy for me growing up, you know.
Your worst examples were your best examples.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's well said. I've never heard that. I've never heard it phrased like that before. Talk to me about venturing into business. At what point did you make that leap from, all right, I'm a truck driver, I know how to cut hair.
Right.
But now it's a way different game, dude. It's a trade within itself to learn how to run a business. And we're going to, and a lot of people real fast, I'm going to give a little snippet to the audience. You're now venturing into multiple industries, one being also commercial cleaning. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But talk to me about the transition into actually learning how to run a business.
It was, I just kind of had to figure it out as I went, you know what I mean? But I mean,
what was the moment though? Like, did you work for someone? Did you?
Yeah. So the moment was, the entire time I was working. I remember I would drive to work every day thinking about a reason like how I can call in. You know what I mean? So that was motivation enough for me to constantly keep pursuing my dreams.
Yeah.
And like what I wanted to do. And like I would work 12, 14-hour days, like physical, like hard labor jobs, go home, cut hair in the basement till 10, 11 p.m., wake up at 4 or 5 and go do it all again.
Yeah.
And really the moment for me was once I had enough money to lean back on, I was out. Like that was it for me.
Did you like graduate from your basement at that point, cutting hair? Or?
Yeah, so that's when I went to my first barbershop back in 2017, and I had converted over to working night shift delivering fuel. So I was working full time delivering fuel and then working in the shop during the day. And then as I started getting busier in the shop, gaining more clientele, then I started scaling back from work. And I just remember one night I had this just horrible night at work. And it was supposed to be like a quick 8-9 hour night. And it ended up being like a 16-hour night. And at this point, I was like, I don't even need this no more. Like I've proved to myself that I can do this. So at that point, I texted my boss. I'm like, yeah, I need to talk to you, bro. And he's like, you're not coming back, are you? And I said, nah, bro. And that was it for me. Like that was the last time I clocked in. So
nice, man. And that was in 2017.
That was 2018 is when I officially left. 2017, I started working in the shop. 2018 took me about a year
full time
to go full time. Yep.
I think it's interesting, man. So you've cut up some pretty big names, man. You cut pro athletes, right?
Yeah, some athletes.
Yeah, and you have a really loyal clientele.
Right.
I would say you don't do a lot of marketing, if any. Marketing
anymore.
Yeah, anymore. When I first got word of you, you cut up my brother-in-law.
Right.
And he's like, hey, man, I know a good barber. I know you're looking for one, but he only goes off a referral basis.
Right.
And you like almost check out your clientele before they ever like sit down in your seat. Dude, just like when you don't just like cut hair, man, like you're a unique cat because you do an entire experience, right?
Right.
And then like you walk into your shop, there's a certain energy. Obviously, you provide a good service. But then like, how'd you just get to that point of like seeing it outside of just a transaction?
Yeah, sorry, I just drew a blank. My bad.
No, you're good. Like I'm like, think about you provide like the experience and like to get to a point where you're pretty much just referral based because of the work you do.
Right.
It doesn't feel transactional.
Right.
Like, I guess like what played a part into that becoming part of your business?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the beginning, you got to just take it all, take any business you can get. But, as you grow, you realize that, not all business is good business.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? And like, I eventually graduated to the point where I was only going to work with people that like respected my time. Mm. So that's at the point where I was like only taking like referrals only because I was growing, trying to make room for new clients, and then also trying to like, outgrow some of the people I needed to outgrow as well. So
outgrowing that old business is such a challenge.
Right.
It's such a challenge because like a lot of people listening right now, they have legacy accounts or legacy clients, those initial ones, and they're like still charging whatever they charged 5 years ago.
Right.
And then like, there's like this, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I've had it. This fear of like leveling up outside of clientele.
Right.
Because you're like, what if I lose them?
Yeah, it's scary.
It's like, but look at the opportunity ahead.
Right.
And navigating that. Did you get any attrition when you started like kind of going referral only or switching locations?
No, I mean, surprisingly, like 90% of my clientele was like okay with the growth. You know what I mean? But I had to just like convert myself from just being a barber to like really running a business and building relationships. And there's a lot of great barbers in Denver. So I could never personally label myself the best barber in Denver. But what I can say is I've mastered the art of like building relationships. And I think that's what separates me from everybody else, is because I'm notoriously known as an icebreaker to the people who know me. I'm very good at that. And I'm very good at making people feel comfortable. So the second they sit in my chair, it's like, we've known each other for years, you know?
Yeah, I was actually just talking before you came in here with a few people. I'm like, man, I don't know where this skill set developed from with Jay, but it's like I could sit in your chair. Let me give you a prime example, and a lot of audience people will recognize the name Angel Sandoval.
Right.
You cut up my former partner, Angel Sandoval, I don't know, however many times, but there would be like sometimes 9 months in between of seeing him.
Right.
And you would pick up conversation from 9 months prior.
Right.
Like, hey, how's that going? And then same with me. Like I see you maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Because I'm a regular. But like, it's almost like we've had the same conversation for 3 years.
Just pick it right back up. Yeah.
How do you, because you cut up sometimes 70 people in a week.
Right.
How do
I
you do
honestly
that?
couldn't tell you. I think it's just a skill. Because my wife will tell you, you don't remember me telling you that yesterday?
Yeah.
And then she gets so upset.
But you remember Joe's ins and outs of his relationship?
From 9 months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I think it has to just be passion, like being passionate about what I'm doing and just loving what I'm doing and just loving being there.
Yeah.
It's just, just something that I just think when you enjoy it, it just comes easy,
Totally. I want to talk about being adaptable and being flexible to entrepreneurship. And the reason I say that is like, we're talking about like one of your primary trades right now, you being a barber, right? But really you're a businessman. Like you said, that's part of the leveling up and graduating. I know during COVID, I believe you became a loan processor,
right?
Because you saw opportunity,
right?
You and I have talked over the last few years. You've now started a commercial cleaning company,
right?
Because you see opportunity. Talk to me just about, I know that you thought about maybe owning a truck,
right?
And running trucks. Talk to me about that entrepreneurial spirit and mindset and just how you see opportunity in business.
Right. It comes from just the appreciation of just remembering where I came from as a child, remembering those hard, long hours I grinded out driving trucks. You know what I mean? It comes from that. And being a barber has created a lot of time for me. Mainly to be there for my kids.
Yeah.
And, I see all this time that I have and it's like, I don't want to waste it. I want to, I can, if I'm not at the shop, putting hair on the floor, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. So my mind's just constantly running, never stopping. Just, clearly out of just appreciation of life,
What gives you talk to me about 2020. You were a loan processor, right?
So I got licensed right before COVID happened as a mortgage loan officer. So
you hit the wave, man.
I did. It was a scary time because like they shut down the barbershops. Like it was just a crazy time. But around that time, interest rates hit the floor. So, I was just eating off of refinances left and right because people needed to survive because a lot of people got put out of a job,
Yeah.
So it's something that just came so easy for me. So I don't want to make it sound like it's that easy because like the road to get there was like very hard. But yeah, it just started flowing in just due to the situation that I was in.
And then so you kind of see this potential opportunity and wave come in. You become you go from barber to loan person, right? Pretty big jump.
Right.
Capitalize on this wave. And then I remember you talking about you also saw you had the forward thinking to see the plateau coming.
Right.
And then you kind of then switch back into, okay, now I'm going to double down on my primary trade, which is being a barber again. Talk to me just about where this forward thinking comes from and it seems like that's almost a skill set within itself.
Yeah. I think it's really just following your passion,
But loan's not your passion, right? Like doing loans, but making money.
Opportunity is my passion.
Yeah, there you
go.
Know?
So, it's something that I seen as opportunity, but when I was in the trenches doing it, I realized I didn't love it. You know what I mean? And then, I seen the very beginning of things starting to stabilize and get back to normal, interest rates rising. And that was like, look at everyone here. They're about to start fighting for dogs for these loans. The economy is still a little messed up. So that's when I, pulled back, doubled down on barbering, and then, on to the next opportunity.
What's up, Profitable Cleaner listeners? Quick question for you. Are you using 5 to 7 different platforms just to manage the everyday operations of your commercial cleaning company? If so, let us help you consolidate that into one platform. Introducing you uSource. Go to usource.com, book your free demo today, and actually get started on your trial for 60 days. No charge for 60 days, all from time and attendance to reporting, vendor management, operations, sales. It's time you stop using 5 to 7 platforms and consolidate into one. So listeners, don't forget, go to usource.com and start your account today.
Oh, let's go there, man. Let's talk about that next opportunity, commercial cleaning. I've sat in your chair for however long. You've heard about this podcast.
Right.
I've officially made it. I get to interview you now. So you just one day out of the blue said, "Hey, man, I think I'm going to start a cleaning company."
Right.
And just hit me off guard. Talk to me about that.
Well, the benefit of being a barber is, people vent and open up to me about literally everything. So, me having the luxury of having you in my chair, we had a lot of business savvy conversations. And just hearing you talk about just the opportunity in this business just got me curious about it. So, I started looking into it myself, and I'm like, hey, this is a very unsaturated market. And there's a lot of opportunity here. So that's where the thought came and started growing from there.
I think a lot of people too, man, they don't really view janitorial as an opportunity. A lot of people on this show kind of like organically found themselves in janitorial on accident.
Right.
And then scaled a business from there. Right. And then they saw the opportunity. Right.
Right.
But outside looking in, it's a very overlooked industry. And funny story, people listening right now obviously know about our Cleaning Profits event.
Right.
And yes, we're doing a 4th event. Everyone stop freaking out. It's coming. But on the mornings of our event, we go to Jay's barbershop and we get cut up.
Yeah, it's tradition.
It's tradition, man. Literally 3 years in a row. With that being said, I don't know, man. Like you said, okay, here's the industry. You don't know how to quote a building.
No,
nothing. Don't know subcontractors.
Right.
So what was step one for you? Because just to give perspective also, he just got awarded his first like $300,000 contract.
Right.
So like, I mean, dude, you went from not being in an industry to here's $300,000 worth of business. Like what was step one for you?
Step one was attending the Cleaning Profits event. I didn't know at that point, if this cleaning thing was going to turn into anything. It was kind of just an idea, and I was like, I'm going to attend this, event, and, I'm going to take whatever I can, whether it be business, whether it be, networking, whatever. And, just everybody at that event in the cleaning industry, just being so open and welcoming. And I was just honest with them, like where I was at, what I was thinking. And they were just like, so, welcoming and open arms, like, hey, like whatever you need, let me know. And it was like, I've never been a part of an industry like that where people are just so willing to give you a hand up. So, I mean, with that, I'm like, leaving that event, I felt like unstoppable. I'm like, I made all these relationships, I was so motivated. So it was basically just up from there,
Nice, man. Talk to me about, and you have done some smaller work, obviously.
Right.
Like you didn't just go from like, here's my LLC paperwork to a $300,000 contract.
Right.
Talk to me about those first little deals, man. And one, how did you get them? What did you do? What were the challenges? Like, give people the tea, man.
Yeah, it was tough, just in the trenches. Like you had to, square one, canvassing, door knocking, phone calls, and just trying to just take whatever you could get. There was even a point where we started just tapping into residential just to get some like money coming in and stuff, And that was like one thing that I was worried about with, the network that I've built just within my life. I'm like, if I start this, like I'm afraid that I'm going to get a deal that's too big that I'm not going to be able to handle. And sure enough, I must have manifested it, because here we are,
I remember sitting in your chair and you said, man, yeah, just we're getting these little jobs, these like, one-time deep cleans, whatever. I have some post-construction clean opportunities. We're not sure if we want to take it. And I said, man, just wait, because a behemoth will get put on your radar.
Yeah, you were not lying.
And then like 6 weeks later, man, a behemoth got put on your radar. Let's obviously not mention the client that you're working with, but
Right.
Talk to me about what it was like going into your first big building, and like it's a multi-location setup, big contract, the decision maker. Talk to me about what it was like approaching your first like big boy contract.
Intimidating, scary. I'm one that is big on like honesty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very scary. And it came at a time where I was like, is this even for me? Can I do this? Like, because then I start meeting people that are bigger in the industry, and it makes you feel so small. And it's just like that fire and drive inside of me, like, no, you can't quit. It was like, you got to keep going. So once I get in there and I'm like, very intimidating in there, scary, but I feel like I had the resources and the people around me to accomplish it. So no matter how scary and dark the times felt, like I was like, I gotta see this through.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, by time this podcast comes out, that account will have kicked off. But as of today, I think that account kicks off in like 2 weeks, right?
Yep, a couple weeks, we're gonna get started.
How you feeling about it now?
I feel great. I've had, a bunch of meetings about it, and I'm basically putting all my ducks in a row to get started and just hit the ground running on it. So
what have you learned about setting up a big account like this? So are you the one actually like tapping your network for recruiting, or are you working with a partner with that? What's that like?
Yeah, I'm working with IFS.
Nice.
On the whole deal. So they've been great with, just offering me anything that I need.
Yeah.
They've been just awesome along the way. So and then, yeah, I'm doing recruiting on my own as well too. So
what's the recruitment process look like for you, man?
It's actually been fairly easy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you meet one person and then it's like, hey, well, do you, have anyone that might want to work too? So, as of right now, I'm just gathering names, and then, I'll work out the crew in the first month or so, and we'll see what sticks,
I love it, man. I think there's something to be said about like the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Right.
And I often wonder, like, if you don't canvas and go door knocking and take smaller residential jobs, like if an opportunity randomly like this falls on your lap.
Right. I always tell my kids, like, you don't have to be like the hardest worker in the room. Like, you have to just be the most consistent one. And the consistency is just always going to pay off in the end, because, a contact you may have created like a few months ago remember you gave them their card, and then all of a sudden they come across someone that might need someone, and they're like, oh, hey, look, I actually do know somebody. So it's the small gestures, it's the consistent efforts that really get you to where you want to be in life.
I think that's really well said, man. You don't have to be the hardest worker. You just have to be the most consistent person in the room.
Right.
I couldn't agree more with that. What do you do individually, man, as a leader of your household and a leader of these businesses now? Like, what do you do on a personal level to like double down on you, to like continually grow?
Make time for myself. So many people are so quick to go clock in and work 8 hours for whoever they're working for. But not a lot of people will clock in for themselves. Like, when's the last time you clocked in for 3 hours for yourself to, like, teach yourself something, to learn something, to better yourself in any way? And, I just got to make that time for myself, because you can't be a great leader. You can't lead anyone unless like you're good yourself,
Totally. What does like that time for yourself look like?
I like to get up early. that time for me is like early. That's when I'm the most productive, because normally school year I'm up getting my kids ready for school. Like once that's going, it's like the day never stops. You know what I mean? Once I'm out the house for the day, I'm either going to the gym, or I'm going straight to work, or I'm meeting this person. Just picked up a new hobby, golf, diving, golfing, So, I really got to make that time for myself, in the morning before my family wakes up.
Yeah, I think we were just talking on a recent podcast here about like how like my day always actually starts like the night before.
Right.
Like trying to like set myself up the night before to be proactive in the morning itself.
Right.
And how critical that is. And man, there's been so many leaders on this show that it's like the most simple strategy, but it's like get up, do the right thing, whatever the right thing to you is. It's not one hack,
right?
Optimization that you hear about, right? And get yourself right, and then get the hell after it,
right?
Where do you like seek like guidance from now? Like you talk about the levels that you've gone through,
right?
Like 17 years old, you might just be looking at your grandma for leveling up in direction, right?
Right.
24 years old, you're looking at maybe this barber and this owner. Where do you seek that mentorship and guidance now?
Yeah, I mean, nothing changes. Like the same little boy I was, that, kid on the way, hoping I can get a job and keep it, and hoping I can be there for my kid. Just that small goal. Once I accomplish that, it's just on to the next, set the next standard. So it's just the constant growth for myself, and the honest like reflection within myself of like what I'm actually doing with my life, what I could have done better.
Yeah.
Really having like humility, because humility is like a big part of me. And I feel like if you have humility, you can honestly critique yourself. You can have the ability to understand that you're not perfect, and there's never going to be a level of perfect that you can reach, And so if you have humility, then you can just be honest with yourself about your growth and just constantly reassess and push forward.
Do you ever feel like it's a vicious cycle, reassessing and being honest with the gaps in your own life?
Yeah. Well, what do they say? I'm my own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So that's what I really have my wife for in my life, because she kind of levels me out. So sometimes I could be very hard on myself, and she's like that, that leveling factor for me in my life. So,
dude, that's nice, man. I feel like my wife's like pushing me to like, hey, like you can do this more. You can, right? But that's why they're called your better half.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a tendency to get very obsessive with things, and so I'm glad that I have her, because like she checks me on that. Like, hey, this is not really that important. Like, you're stuck on this. It's not really that important. Let's, you know what I mean? Let's change direction. So she's really good at helping me stay focused.
There's something to be said. Like I follow a lot of like random entrepreneurs online that like I pick up little tendencies and things from. And I can't remember who said it. I'm totally drawing a blank right now, but he's like, the secret weapon, or the biggest decision that you're going to make, which will be a secret weapon, is not what you do in business, but it's who you decide to spend your life with.
Right.
And talking about alignment.
Big. Right.
Like with your wife and all of that. And dude, how contentious that can be, and then also how beneficial that can be.
Right. And it's not just with your wife. It's just
with
your
circle.
Friends, with, they say you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You know what I mean? So you got to constantly reevaluate that. Like, what are these 5 people doing that I'm hanging out with the most? So,
what's up, my profitable cleaners? Listen, you guys know that running a cleaning business isn't just about cleaning. It's about growth, trust, building a legacy, and making true impact. That's where Swept comes in. With Swept, it's simple, powerful. It's an app that you can track your cleaner attendance with geofence clock-ins, streamlined processes, team communication, and save hours on payroll. It's the ultimate tool designed specifically for janitorial businesses just like yours. Take control, save time, focus on what matters most, growing your business, and spending time with your family. Swept. Clean better, grow faster. If you guys are interested in Swept, click the link below in the show notes and partner with one of the best in the industry.
So let's talk about that, actually. You bring up a good point. So, I mean, dude, ultimately you run a barber shop.
Right.
We know what barbershop talk is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you see so many different people and you're so good at like making a connection with everyone. How do you not get into the bullshit of maybe what might come into your chair? Does that make sense?
Right.
Staying at a separated, but
Like
staying at
like
their
a
level.
professional
Yeah,
level?
like not getting in front of, like not being inundated with it because it is
Right.
part of your environment.
Right. I mean, not being judgmental. Like, I understand everybody goes to their own struggles. Everybody goes to their own, I've been through my fair share. So
Sure.
like, I just am never in a place to judge anybody. So, I'm a barber, but what I really am is a unlicensed therapist.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
exactly
I
right.
actually walk a lot of people through this stuff. So I've had people text me like, hey, thanks for that talk today. It really helped me out.
Yeah.
I was talking to a client yesterday. He was having problems with his girl. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, 5 love languages. Take your guys' test tonight, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And then he's texting me last night. You know what I mean? Hey, thanks for that. And you know what I mean? So it's not really about staying away from like the bullshit, because when you're building a relationship with somebody, you don't want to make them feel like you're pushing them away or you're too good for what they have to say. So it's really just embracing everything they have
I think that's
to bring towards me,
That's really well said, man. Because I've always wondered, like, you keep such a positive level mindset, but not everything that goes on in your chair is positive and level.
Right.
You know?
But there's opportunity to grow from that. So that's what I try to focus on.
It's a very big servant mentality, right? Taking that servant mentality. Man, I can only imagine some of the conversations you have.
Yeah. It's just like a therapist. It's strictly forbidden for me to talk about, but I've heard some stuff.
No,
Definitely.
I think that's awesome, man. I want to talk, and maybe we can like start concluding here, but like, what has your evolution as a father been like? So 18, what were you, 17 or 18 when you had your son?
18.
18 years old, man. Your son's now how old?
13.
13, man.
Yep, 13. Teenager.
Yeah, teenager, man. What has been the evolution and growth as you as a father? Because, dude, there's no way you could be the same.
Oh no, you have to grow with your kids. Your kids are going to tell you how to raise them. And that's what was so scary for me, having like a kid so young. Is just like, am I going to be a good father? Can I do this? Like, how am I going to show up? Like, how am I going to love him? Like, you know what I mean? But then once your kids are there, it's like, you just kind of know what they need, and you kind of just go with how they're growing in life, and you kind of adjust your parenting from there. You know what I mean? So, I was raised old fashioned by my grandma. That's don't speak when adults are speaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't speak out of turn. So
good old fashioned Latina grandma. Dude.
I've carried a lot of that into my kids, like when they were younger. But then they hit a certain age where like that hard love, like aggression, it don't work anymore. So you have to like adjust your parenting. You got to convert more to like speaking to them and walking them through certain situations. You know what I mean? And I'm more of the parent that's not like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? I'm more of the parent like, okay, this is what you did, but this is what you could have done better. Like,
Yeah.
Or what do you think you should have done better?
Yeah.
Because my grandma told me something when I was really young. She's like, everyone's going to make mistakes, like always, but you're going to be an absolute idiot if you make that same mistake twice. So that's something I really try to push on my kids too.
Yeah, I think that's so well said, because I see how you are with your son and then your 2 daughters. I was actually sitting in your chair, like, I don't know, a few times ago, and then boom, your daughter sold me something, dude, a bracelet.
Right.
I was like, okay, raising little entrepreneurs here, man.
Yeah, I try to do that by not giving them everything. It's so hard not to like want to give your child the life you didn't live. And then a lot of times you end up giving them too much perfection and they come out spoiled. So in the perfect life that I provide my kids, I also try to be the imperfection in their life and be the struggle that they have to go through too. So it's like, okay, well, you need money for this. How are you going to get it? What are you going to do to get it? Like, and my daughter, she started making bracelets, and she'll come to the barbershop with me now, and she'll make $100, $150 a day, like pushing bracelets. And I've taught her to listen. Like, I'm like, you hear me talking to my clients, you hear them right away talk about a girlfriend. boom, that's your point. Like, get in there. Like, you hear them talking about their daughters, boom, oh, I can make your daughters a bracelet. Like, so instead of just going in and being a little girl scared, you want to buy a bracelet, I taught her to, like, you know, listen to what people are talking about and then take your
relationship.
Mastering the relationship. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. It's a weird line, man. I struggle with this as a dad myself. Dude, I've already given a life to my 2 boys that I never had.
Right.
And they're 7 and 4.
Right.
Like, I mean, I literally jump on a cruise ship in 48 hours to Alaska. Like,
right.
I never even went on an airplane until I was 24 years old.
Exactly.
Right. Like, so
exactly.
It's like this weird balance of like giving them these experiences, but also balancing like
what reality actually
is and actually building toughness.
Right.
Something I really struggle with. So I always revert back to something I heard years ago is like, it's not about giving generational wealth. You hear that term all the time.
Right.
Oh, build generational wealth. It's like very few people actually
right.
build generational wealth. But what we can build right now is actually, can I pass on generational habits?
Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, what generational habits am I passing on to my 2 boys?
Right. And it's habits like being able to process your emotions, habits of
1000%.
being able to honestly reevaluate and reflect on yourself, habits to understand when you were wrong, when you were right. Like, it's those type of habits that mean the most. You know what I mean?
No doubt, man. It's like critical thinking, decision making. Yeah. Emotional control.
Right.
You know, this is actually what obsesses my brain.
Right.
I'm like,
exactly.
And sometimes I don't know if I'm like doing a really damn good job with my 2 boys or if I'm just like giving them trauma for the rest of their life.
Right. I guess we'll find out in about 10 years, right?
Yeah, that's right, man.
So
that's right.
It'll be good though. Cause I remember, you know, my grandma used to get into these big old lectures to me and it was just like, oh my God, not again. Like, here we go again. You know, like I didn't want to hear it. But now that I'm grown, those lectures are my subconscious.
Yeah.
Those words that she used to speak to me are what like makes me. You know what I mean? Totally. So what I thought was a burden back then is like something I'm very thankful for now. So I try to keep that in mind. Like, even though when I go on my rants and lectures, my kids are already like, oh, here he goes again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I try to keep that in mind. Like, hey, one day this is going to mean something to you.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And because I've dealt with like a lot of like death in my life, you know, I understand that tomorrow's not promised. You know what I mean? We're not the ones in control. So the more strength and stability and independency I could give my kids, the better off they'll be, because, you know, who knows what is promised tomorrow, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to be that voice in their head and that northern compass when you're not there.
Right.
Even if you are physically still here, there's going to be moments where like your son will have to make a decision without dad there.
Yeah, and he's going to have to be ready for that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And regardless of the decision you make, right or wrong, you're going to have to be able to handle either the outcome or the consequence.
You got to take it on the chin regardless.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Do you think your kids or wife will listen to this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, man. What camera should he look into? Cool, man. Let's wrap up here, man. Floor is yours, man. What message would you like to give your kids or your wife?
You know, life is about never giving up. You know what I mean? It's about just constantly keep going. There's always a solution. And there's always brighter days to come, regardless of how dark things feel. So, you know, just as long as you trust yourself and you stick with the people and love who loves you, life will always work itself out. Amen
to that, man. We'll have to do a round 2, especially get a little bit more tactical now that you're managing a $300,000 a year account.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have a lot more to talk about in a few months.
No, man. I mean, this is what makes business, man. It's the people that actually run the business.
Exactly.
That's why, we can talk about different ways to quote a building, what supplies to use, or how to hire, right?
Right.
And those are helpful, but it's like, no, if you actually listen to the thread of like this show, it's like, what's the makeup of the leaders running the company? So
yeah, I mean, how do you handle chaos? How do you handle instability, you know?
Exactly, man.
That's something that I, grew up, my grandma taught me, is how to maintain stability in unstable environments. So, you know what I mean? That'll translate to me.
And that's with another one.
It'll translate to me running this new job successfully, and more to come.
I love it, man.
I've officially arrived.
You have arrived, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
Until next time, man.
Thanks for having me.